shockwavesound.com. shockwavesound.com. shockwavesound.com.
Once again in the studio. Yeah, we're back, man, and you know we're talking about the new Tony Ives. Not the new, but I mean Tony Ives. He's going to be creating the new iOS 7, and he's said to be done basically with what he calls skeuomorphism. He's saying no more of that. Now, many of you wonder, okay, well, what is skeuomorphism? What is that? What are you talking about? Well, skeuomorphism refers to the design principle in which design cues are taken from the physical world. This term is most frequently applied to like user interfaces, which the Apple iOS 6 and previous versions use. Where much of the design has traditionally aimed to recall the real world, such as the use of folders or file images for computer filing system, or a letter symbol for email, probably to make computers feel more familiar to users. This is why people use things called skeuomorphism. Now, according to Tony Ives, now would we understand what skeuomorphism is all about. According to Tony Ives, he's saying that the iOS 7 will move away from skeuomorphism and be a little more, shall we say, be a little more flat. You know, shall we say, he's saying that it's going to be, according to a report, black and white and flat all over. Oh yeah, that's going to be the new design of the iOS 7. Now, according to VentureBeat, Sir Jony Ives, the new iOS 7 is going to be flat and very plain. Now, Apple is widely expected to reveal their new iOS 7 in June 10th at the WWDC, that same conference that sold out literally in under 2 minutes. Literally, and that's the Worldwide Developers Conference. They are looking to make some big changes to iOS 7, according to a report. Now, Scott Forstall and his love of user interface elements that mimic the real world is long gone. And Jony Ives, the design genius behind the iMac, iPhone, iPad, and pretty much everything that Apple has done in the last decade, this guy has been a part of, was appointed to overhaul and comprehensively, according to Apple, they wanted him to overhaul and comprehensively redo Apple's most important crown jewel, and that is their operating system, in October of last year. Now it appears he's close to completion, and Ives has been leading a thorough revamp of the iPhone UI in preparation for the upcoming iOS 7 release. And according to 9 to 5 Mac, that's another online publication, he's also almost done. The changes are going to be significant and described as black and white and flat all over. So we're going to see how this thing works. Now, that's a massive change from the original colorful, semi-transparent iOS development language, which tries hard to make Virtual Console and objects look and feel and act like real world controls, the real controls and objects you see in the world. You see that today in the drop shadows behind icons, the compass interface of Find My iPhone, and the physical button-like Apple toggle controls. And all of these things, according to Forstall, the former iPhone chief who was cut from the Apple team after refusing to apologize for the Apple Maps disaster. He said, "No, I'm not apologizing," and Apple cut him, and was a big fan of that skeuomorphism design. You know, making the icons in the virtual world mimic or look like icons in the real world. So the design that connects the new and the old with decorative, but some might say unnecessary elements, Apple has decided that they want to change their iOS drastically. Now, is this something that Apple needs to do in order to sell iPhones, iPads and stuff like that? No, I don't think this is something they have to do. However, the fact that they're willing to overhaul their system, the fact that they're willing to do that, shows to me that Apple knows they need to be more. They can't just rest on their laurels. They can't rest on the successes that they've had in the past and the things they've had in the past. Apple has to be on the offensive again. Apple has to do things that's going to shake up the industry, that's going to shake them up, to make people understand that, look, there's still a viable console, there's still a viable platform, and there's still life, and there's still ingenuity in what Apple is doing. So this guy, Jony Ives, has come in, and he has been appointed. And this is the man that's been behind almost every Apple product, you know, over the last 10 years. This guy has been a part of it. And they asked him, they said, look, man, we're looking to change, totally change. We want a massive overhaul. And that's a picture of the guy right there. We want a massive overhaul of iOS, the new iOS 7. And he apparently has obliged. And they're saying that he's going to make this thing look very clean, very simple, very neat. Now, the black and white and flat design, not everything rounded or look like it's popping out of the screen or stuff like that. He says all of that is going to go away, and he's going with just a simple user interface. So it's going to be debuted at June 10th at their Worldwide Developers Conference. We're going to see if the Apple faithful, you know, if they agree with it, or how they accept it, you know, how they are going to. This is the next step in Apple's evolution. This is going to be the next step that is going to lead Apple into the new generation of what they're going to be doing, and how they're going to be looked upon by the community, by the other tech communities, or not tech communities, by the other people in the tech community, how they're going to be viewed. We have to wait and see if this thing is really going to help them as far as the user interface. See, a lot of people, you know, don't like change, and the user interface of Apple right now is not bad. And so if this design messes it up or makes it weird in any kind of way, I'm gonna wait and see how they actually respond to that, because I know a lot of iPhone users, and they're not screaming saying that, oh, we need a new UI. The UI here is just terrible. No one's saying that, but yet Apple sees fit to just totally overhaul their UI. So we're going to see if this really helps Apple, or this in the end really hurts Apple as far as what they're doing with the new iPhone 5S that's coming out, and is the skeuomorphism design going to be in iPhone 5s, or is it going to be out of iPhone? That would be the reason why I believe the iPhone 5s hasn't really set a release date and coming out and things like that, because they're still looking to get their UI down to where they want it. I think the death of the skeuomorphism went with the iPhone 5. I don't think we're going to see it in the iPhone 5s, but we have to wait and see what they announce at WWDC later this year. Now, going on from into other news, Intel. Now, many of you know the Haswell processors that's coming out from Intel. The Haswell processor is Intel's new line of Core I processors, and they're saying that these processors, what Intel was saying is that they, instead of going more and more powerful, they are looking at the mobile community and seeing that a lot of people are not in desktop mode anymore. A lot of people are now laptops minimum, and then from there you have the Ultrabooks, you have the tablets, you have even cell phones that have the ability for computing power. Now, Intel doesn't control the tablet and the cell phone market as far as processors. Those are ruled by the NVIDIAs out there and the Qualcomms out there in the world. Those are the two chips that really rule the tablet and phone market, especially Qualcomm. And Intel looks to break into that market. Now, they're saying that rather than just continue to get more powerful, they're saying that they want to design a chip that will maximize performance with efficiency and longevity of battery life. And they feel they came up with that with their Haswell processors. And they're saying that the new Haswell processors, according to IDG News Service, Intel's new family of Core processors named Haswell will offer 50% more battery life to laptops than their older versions did. And they said that, I think last Thursday they came up with this report, and the Haswell chips were designed with laptops and tablets in mind, and the main focus was on lowering power consumption as well as keeping or increasing performance of these chips. And the longer battery life won't come with a cost to performance, they're saying, according to the corporate vice president and general manager of Intel Architecture Group. They're saying it's not going to come at the expense of performance, because we know there are cheaper processors like the Atom processor is basically, is basically nothing. Atom processor is one of their worst processors that they ever made, along with their Celeron processor, their budget. You know, these things, yes, they don't use a lot of power, but their performance was basically nil. And Intel is saying that they can use their Haswell processors to get maximum performance from their Core I series. So like the Core i7, which is a quad-core, hyper-threaded turbo boost core, chip running at 2.5 and overclocked to about 3.5 gigahertz. You see? But they're saying they can have this same chip in a much more efficient form so that it uses 50% less battery consumption power in your laptops, and this would be huge. And if they can do that and convince a couple of tablet makers to use their chips in tablets, because the point of having a tablet is that you want to have this mobile device that's going to last a while. You don't want to have a tablet that you only get 2 hours out of. You want a tablet that can last you all day. Now, the improvements are vital for Intel and its PC making partners, because PC sales are in one of the worst slumps that they've been in for a long time. And so if Intel can really come up with this chip, well, they've come up with it, but if it does what they say it's going to do, any improvements Intel can offer to help keep the PC market alive is definitely a good thing. And that's why I think Intel is looking not only at these processors that's going to provide that extra give you that extra boost in power as far as lower power consumption, but they want to dip into the